Roy, are you all right, fella? Let's play ball.
Tonight, we are the greatest hockey team in the world.
I need you now, more than ever I need you.
That creep can roll, man.
What are we doing here?
Billy, you know,
It's not to win a championship.
I want to win just...
That's my bar.
Now, I may be a mean cuss, but I'm the same mean cuss with everybody out there on that football field.
Well, you want to cry about it, Tom, or you want to make a little magic before the clock runs out on both of us?
They find ways to win, and in '92 in their new Georgia Dome, it will continue because the Falcons are too legit to quit.
Please welcome your next panel's moderator, Matt Arden.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? I'm gonna let everybody introduce themselves and tell a little bit of what they do. So we'll start right here.
Hey everyone, I'm Adam Lewites. I'm the Managing Director of Phoenix Capital Ventures. We are an early stage venture capital firm focused around sports tech, gaming, connected fitness, human performance, and media and entertainment.
Hi, I'm Todd Schmidt. This is my 28th season with NFL Films, undefeated since 1962. We are the film and video outlet of the National Football League, and we have programming anywhere eyeballs can watch anything ever.
Hi, great to be here. I'm Jenna Kurath, Vice President of Startup Partnerships, and I get to lead our Comcast NBCU SportsTech program. If you're not familiar with it, I get to play at that intersection of sports and technology. We invest in 10 companies each year, and they get to work with decision makers across our organization, plus really cool sports teams and leagues like Premier League, NASCAR, PGA Tour, and a few others.
Hi, I'm Buddy Scott. I head up product and experiences for a startup in technology for sports. And what we do is we help, I would say, leagues, teams, and rights holders. Those could be big tech or broadcasters, or both. Actually help tell the story in brand new ways that are, I would say, are compelling for the younger generation. And we actually we're going to be looking at two different environments. One is for the home, for the mass audience, and the second is for venues that we'll talk about later.
I'm Wayne Kimmel, managing partner of 76 Capital. We're a venture capital company that invests in companies like Quintar. So it's great to have Buddy here. And you know, when I explain what Buddy does, I talk about augmented reality and XR and cloud computing, and you know, you talk about it in a different way or something. I don't know. That's as much as I can understand. But you know, we're all about investing in the entrepreneurs who are truly doing the next thing across the sports industry, and we want to work with them and help them and grow those businesses. And we're based in Philadelphia, so it's really great to be here in Atlanta. So thanks for having us.
Hey y'all, Gordon Barfield. I lead up the strategy and innovation teams at AMD Sports Entertainment. So that's the Atlanta Falcons, Atlanta United, and then the stadium you're in here today. So glad to have all y'all here.
Gordon, it's fitting that you're last in line because we're going to start with you. We're obviously in this lovely facility. It's pretty nice. Technology, obviously, at a cornerstone of developing this beautiful arena, this stadium. So I kind of want to start with you. As technology evolves relative to sports production and sports presentation, talk to us a little bit about this awesome facility we're in and what went into the decision-making when this place was built.
Yeah, absolutely. So our stadium opened in 2017. I think the designing process and the decisions on technology, what we put in here, started well before then, called 2014, 2015. And as you guys hopefully get a chance to go out here and take a look, you see the Halo board, you see kind of the visual technology, but there's so much more behind the scenes. We're just talking about connectivity and with Wi-Fi and the, cell service and everything else we have in the building. The idea was to keep it kind of at the top of our minds throughout when we opened the building. And I think it's interesting now, is called 5, 6, 7 years in, continuing to make investments in that technology. We're going through a large-scale stadium renovation project right now, putting about $200 million into the stadium. And probably half of that is in technology, infrastructure, production, things that just have to be done to keep it kind of at the forefront of the stadium industry. So, I think it's always on our minds, and we're always looking for ways to improve it. So, hopefully, again, guys, take a look outside when you get a chance and you can see some of it for yourself.
Well, thank you for having us, first and foremost. That leads me to a follow-up, because we do have a little bit of breaking news on the panel, which typically you don't get in a fun technology sports panel. But you talk about how AI impact. We're going to talk a little bit about AI, the big scary word in the room, which isn't that scary, guys, but we'll be here to help you through it. But it does bring me up across the street, obviously, State Farm Arena, and our friend Buddy here has a fun announcement, but it really goes into what we're talking about with how new tech is going into the sports world. So tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah, in fact, I have a team over at State Farm right now. We've become Quintar has become the official XR platform for State Farm Arena and for the Atlanta Hawks. It's a multi-year collaboration agreement. In fact, it's an innovation agreement. We're focusing on 3 areas, and the cool part about this is that we get to actually experiment, try, give it to the fan, test it, and then if it doesn't work, throw it away and go do something else, right? So that's that's the fun part about this collaboration. If it works, then we're free to actually expand that to other NBA teams and other sports and leagues. So it's a really great collaboration agreement. But the 3 areas we're focusing on, one is entertainment, which is actually around the game itself. So it's actually how do we visualize and expand the storytelling of the game as you're watching it while you're in your seat. That's one. So the second is that for those who are there for, I would say, the event, not necessarily the game, but just to be part of their friends and family, is the gamification around the game. It's how can we actually put contests and games and actually make that so that it's a very reasonably priced thing for State Farm Arena and for the Atlanta Hawks to actually create games and create contests and create points and scores and prizes over and over and over again without actually having to go to a marketing agency and spend a ton of money for one activation. You can actually keep doing it over and over and over again. The third one is more utilitarian. So it's more about wayfinding and where's the closest security office? Where's the closest medical office? Where's my favorite beer? Right? So anything like that. So we're focusing on those 3 areas.
That's very cool. So I want to have it's a little bit more of an open panel, so everyone's now obviously free to interrupt and jump in. We want a little chaos up here, but chaos is the key word. We feel like in the media world right now, it feels like there's a lot of chaos, right? Everything seems scary. Everything's bad. It's not bad. We're changing. We're growing. We're trying to find new ways, and that's a little bit of the disruption you're fighting right now. Everyone on here has brought up the dirty word AI in meetings and in emails. Can you each talk a little bit about sort of like where technology is leading you right now? It's particularly around AI, which seems to be the hot button word. It is not a dirty word. We're going to figure it out. But there's a lot of good thinking on this panel too. So I want to sort of ask everybody where they are in this process. And let me start with you, since obviously you're on the forefront of making some of those decisions.
Yeah, so hopefully during the 17 days of my bliss, aka the Olympics, you experienced AI Al Michaels. I would have loved to have been in the room when they approached him and said, hey, can we use AI technology to use your voice over those 17 days with highlight reels and clips just to bring you closer to those moments that matter. And when we look at AI, it is such an incredible efficiency play that can allow us to deliver very, very personalized experiences. So if you look at the Olympics alone, over those 17 days, 7,000 hours of content. You've got 250 plus events. You've got 10,000 or so athletes from 200 countries. Trying to bring all of that together in a seamless way where you could find what you want. You don't care about the 7,000 hours. You care about those 7 sports awe-inspiring moments that you want to see. And so I think it was a great way for us to use AI to quickly generate scripts. Again, it was our fantastic storytellers, and I think it was Josh on an earlier one. We're not taking the humanity out of it with AI technology. We're just getting us faster so that the best of the best storytellers out there can do their refinement, can really bring the emotion and that athlete's journey on the path to the podium so that it jumps off the page. And to be able to use WSC Sports, which happened to be our highlight clipping capability, to pull that together. So it was step 1. Granted, you could only pick 3 sports and you got the same package in your 3 sports that you picked. You couldn't change them around. But it's step 1 in what can be the most personalized experience for fans that are really fluid.
How do you, and anyone on the panel that wants to jump in on this, how do you separate the new technology, oh man, I want to try this, and really maintaining focus on the fan journey or the viewer journey, and not simply just trying new technology for the sake of trying technology, but enhancing the viewer experience, enhancing the fan experience. Where does everyone on the panel sort of sit on like the line between we should be first to the table with this just cause, or we should be first to the table with this because this will actually make life better for our viewer, our fan?
I think one of the most important things that you said is what the fans want. And I think many of us, as investors, as well as working with companies like Quintar, you're talking to the consumer. You're talking to, what do they want? What do you want your experience to be? And especially when you talk with the younger fans, they want everything, right? They want it all, right? They want as many screens. They want as much data. They want as many people talking to them, at them, being part of a conversation, really being active within the game. So to do that, you need to use technology for that. And that's really where we think AI comes in and can be extremely helpful, because then it can truly customize your experience, personalize your experience. And that's one of the big things for us at 76 Capital, where we really want to we want to help our companies and enable them to be able to give that type of experience to fans, because that's what you really want. I mean, you think about like the experience that we all get from Netflix. That's the kind of experience that we want to have with sports, I believe, and especially around sports betting. We need to get to that place. And, but at the same time, Netflix is coming to our world, right? And that's one of the big things. It's one of the things that Jenna and I talk about a lot, is the major technology companies that once played in other industries and other worlds are now here in sports. So we've got companies like a Netflix and like Comcast with Peacock. And I mean, you better have Netflix on Christmas, right? I mean, Christmas is not going to be anything. Like if you go to someone's house and they don't have Netflix for Christmas, you can't watch the NFL games. I know you can watch the NBA games, but like you're going to leave and go somewhere else. At least I would.
Well, I don't envy the position that any stadium is in. We have the same challenge ourselves. When we did, it was about a $350 million investment in Wells Fargo Center. We own the Flyers in Philadelphia. We tried as much as possible to use actual behavioral data to help us understand the spaces and places and why people were in that stadium, because not everyone's there because they're a diehard fan. Some of them might be there for the social aspects of it. Turns out 9 times out of 10, if they win, the hot dogs were hot, the parking was seamless, everything was great. And every January, people are asking, why are there no healthy options? And then they don't care again in February. So you kind of have to follow the data. And so if you aren't testing and trying new technologies, you can't really see. You can ask people what they want, but their behavior tells something else.
Yeah, and I fully agree on that one. And we have a expression that we use with our team. We do all the same behavioral analysis. We look at surveys, we talk to our fans. At the end of the day, though, fans aren't typically very rational. Like they will make the irrational choice, even though it makes no logical sense. They will wait in a line when you could say if you walk 30 seconds that way, there's no line. They'll look at you and say, I'm not moving. So no amount of technology, no amount of insights, nothing you're going to give them will change their minds. And so it's understanding fans, understanding behavior. And I think we look a lot at this technology that we can bring to our fans. We have several criteria we look at when we're piloting new things in the stadium. And they have to like using what we're giving them, but they actually have to use it. Like too often you see technology put out there and 50 people are using it and they all love it, but only 50 people are using it. So it's probably not worth your time or your effort. So it's balancing those two that can be challenging.
Yeah, I want to actually, I may come right to you for this because I want to talk about that real quickly. I don't know how crowded the space is right now, so I'm curious, especially for the guys on the panel that are, and I'm sure some of you are interested in where the money might be coming from or how to get access to that money. Is the marketplace flooded with 1 million new apps and 1 million new opportunities? And how do you discern what might make sense? What's a safe bet? What's a good gamble? Where do you take a risk? Where are you looking at the next big thing that could change a fan experience?
Yeah, I was going to make the point, and to expand on what has already been said, where I think there's two sides of when it comes to AI and new technologies and whatnot. Like, you get the one side of it where it is a direct correlation and understanding that a fan is engaging with an AI in a new experience, right? You take the avatars, you take, we've seen a few platforms who are, leveraging these large language models, these LLMs, like an OpenAI, to create celebrity athlete experiences that a fan can go engage with, right? You know you're directly engaging with an AI. So we've seen that side of it. I think a large majority of what we see today are companies integrating AI into the experience where they fan or whoever actually has no idea in some cases that new technology AI is being leveraged, right? And so for us as investors, we're constantly trying to figure out, to your point, yes, there are 1,000 new apps. Everybody's trying to come up with the next great sexy idea and billion-dollar idea. But sometimes there's a bifurcation between, is this just a feature set inside of a larger system that creates a better experience, or is it truly a standalone business? And that's actually one of the biggest things that we're constantly looking for, is do we believe that this company, these founders, these group of individuals are building a company that is lasting, or is it really, hey, this integrates better into CRM system or the media experience or whatever it might be to create a broader platform and plug it into a broader platform as opposed to standalone. So sometimes tough to figure that out, but we see, again, it's one side or the other, where the fan either doesn't have any idea they're experiencing AI, or teams, the properties are using AI, or it's this cutting edge, bleeding edge new experience that may or may not work, and it's a bit of a gamble.
Yeah, and the way we're using this AI and building AI is exactly that. So it's seamless and invisible to the user. They just know things work, right? So for example, we'll talk about the other technologies we have, but for the stadium, it is a learning model, because the stadium, the arena, the floors, it changes. There's actually not just one Hawks floor, right? So we actually learn and actually crowdsource the components, and actually it's a continuous learning model. In fact, with our company, we also have a big deal with PGA Tour, where the first thing they asked us was, what's your plan for generative AI? They weren't asking because they wanted us to do it. They said they don't want us to infringe on what they're doing, right? So we have to be very cognizant of our partners, be it the leagues, teams, or rights holders, of actually what their plans are, so we don't infringe. So we are starting with staying in our own lane and actually making the experiences we build in our technology for fans seamless.
So I'll build off that, because you perfectly teed up how we think about it. So we've got Comcast, NBCU, and Sky. We have deep investments in sports, whether that's Olympic rights through 2032. We're going to have NBA back on NBC soon. So when we think about partners in our consortium coming in and helping to work alongside these founders, it's because it's a problem we're solving that's relevant to different types of teams, leagues, sports, because that's technology that's going to scale. And so we're constantly looking at PGA Tour has very unique needs around the fact that they have 150 acres and they're capturing every shot live at any given point in time. There's 10 to 12 balls in the air. And we're NBC production on site with them doing that in places like PGA Tour, the Players Championship, where we're providing as Comcast Business the connectivity. So our entire platform is an innovation platform built off of partnerships that enhance our media rights, our sponsorship investments, and just bring fans closer to the action, whether that's in the living room or in the stadium, on the field, ice, all of those areas. That's where we need to be pushing ourselves as an organization to test and try things. If we're willing to integrate it into our business, that's product market fit, that's revenue coming in for them to build their business, and that de-risks our initial investment. But it's very much hinges on partnership.
A little further down the funnel, Todd, I want to come to you, because a little further down the funnel, I have the most in common with you, the storytellers, right, in the group. Further down that funnel is, how does it all tie together with storytelling? How has your job changed over the last, let's say decade even, or even in the last 5 minutes probably, from how do we keep traditional storytelling in place? How do we captivate? But how do we embrace these new technologies to change the way we do our jobs and also deliver it to our fans?
Well, I think you start with what's engaging with the people watching, and what do they already know. Now, right now, there's never been a better flow of information, whereas when I started with NFL Films in 1997, inside the NFL was must-see TV. It's where you saw the highlights of Sunday's games. Well, heck, now you can see it 20 minutes after the game's over. So our storytelling had to change. We had to on one hand, we had to double down on what we did because we believed that we were telling stories that didn't matter when you saw them. They were timeless, they were cinematic, and they had a visceral reaction. At the same time, we had to understand that our viewer was much more educated as to what happened than they were a couple years ago. So I'm a firm believer that a great story is a great story is a great story. You can tell a great story in 18 seconds on TikTok. You can tell a great story for 30 for 30 on ESPN. You can tell a great story anywhere in between. What makes something a great story, I don't think changes. But what you have to do to get that story to the people who are going to enjoy them, well, that's changing dramatically in terms of different partners. You know, at the NFL, we talk about meeting our fans where they are. And I know all of us have that challenge of getting to where our viewers can enjoy us, whether it's on a 3-inch screen. Well, I'm used to putting something on a 70-inch screen. Now you're telling me the guy's going to be watching my documentary on a phone. Then that changes how I think about graphics. That changes how I think about detail in terms of what they're seeing. So much has changed just because of how it's enjoyed and how. But I think that the secret is if you have the basics of storytelling and you understand the marrow of the human experience that makes a great story, then you can do that in 18 seconds. You can do that in an hour and a half. You can do that in whatever vehicle is available to you.
Let's admit there's friction at times, right? What is advice to those watching? Where do you push and pull? Where is the friction? Is it a new technology coming in and storytellers saying we're not building for that, or is it a storyteller saying we need a new platform? Like, where are we finding the friction and how do we overcome it as we test all these new technologies?
I think one of the things which has been really interesting, and I could use an example of one of our companies called Diamond Kinetics, which is our baseball technology company, and it's really you would think there was friction, potentially friction from, a young kid's highlight, and then matching that with Major League Baseball content. Right? You'd be like, well, Major League Baseball, they have their content, they have the rights, all this other stuff. But to see today how the leagues are really leaning in and are looking to really work from an innovative perspective with these young startup companies is amazing. So the example is that a kid he's a left-handed kid, he's a 12-year-old, he hits a home run to right center field, there's 2 men on base, and it's the highlight of his career, right? of his 12-year-old career, right? And then immediately, within 15 to 20 seconds, his mom, and then there's a video of the game using sort of our video streaming platform. We can take the video of that kid's home run and match it up with his favorite player, Bryce Harper, who also hits a home run to right field. We're able to use AI and other store tech to match it right up, to say to the exact place in the ballpark, 2 men on, and show split screen of the kid's home run and Bryce Harper, and immediately that's text to his phone as well as his parents' phones, and grandparents as well. That's the type of thing where you think about it all working together, and the use of tech and the type of relationships that you need to have and deals that have to be done, so you actually can make this all work. And from our perspective, what we're finding now with all the leagues is that they want to help. They want to be part of it. They want to lean in. They want to know what's next. They want to be part of it. And that's the part that's exciting for all of us right now.
Wayne, I want to count double on that because, the thing that people want more and more now is access. And that product gives that 12-year-old boy that access that they've been craving. And at NFL Films, we're constantly thinking, how do we bring our fans closer? How do we give them access? We now have programming that takes you into the locker room. We take you into the draft war room. We'll take you anywhere you want to go. And the challenge is, how do we go further? How do we give them that access? And I think partnering with technology is the best way to guarantee you're going to do that efficiently.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons why we're investors in Quintar. I mean, they're taking the viewing experience to the next level. It's coming alive in front of you. It's going to be incredible to see just every piece of what you guys are doing from, and it's just, and again, the access, the willingness of the teams, the leagues to work with you is amazing.
Well, Wayne, I'll build off of, if you look at sports, what we find among our partners, it's the collaboration and the cross learnings where you wouldn't necessarily expect that NASCAR would have as much similarity with PGA Tour. But guess what? Daytona, you can fit 17 football fields inside the ring of that track. So these are hard problems that are going to be only solved if we're really investing in early on with really smart, innovative entrepreneurs. They're going to frankly push us all beyond the status quo in how we tell stories and how we produce. But any of those technology pieces, you've got to test and try and experiment and come with that open mindset versus a fear that it will displace you. I think AI is a wonderful tool if used in the right way to get some of that brainless stuff off your plate so that you can really dive in for that humanity, the creativity piece of things. But I would say another piece of friction when we're looking at technology and investing in it, a lot of the technology that we're looking at is part of a workflow. That is behavior change. That's not easy. And so you're going to have people that are a little bit hesitant. But if you have an innovation platform, which is about, hey, this is us testing and experimenting, that's what puts together the best product ultimately at the end of the day. And the best product on the field or the ice or the court is going to drive ticket sales, merchandise sales, tune in, all of that.
You bring up something, and I've been in this business a long time, the fear of fossilization is real. Will I be replaced? How can something, we're always looking at, a younger person who's smarter and more relevant and hungry. That's great. Now you got machines who are. And that's scary. But anytime you're in a business for a long period of time, you're in it because you have consistently innovated in and of yourself. So I find myself not worrying about if a machine can replicate the work I do. I worry about creating the kind of work that I know a machine could never replicate. And if I do that, the problem takes care of itself. And now AI becomes a tool, just another tool, as my Avid or as the music or the film or the narration or anything that I do is just another tool that I can use to create excellent communication. So I think it's up to all of us as professionals to A, stay on top of what's going on in the industry, B, see what's coming and see not just that, oh gosh, that's going to replace me, but how do I use that so I stay on top? I think it's a challenge for everyone who's a professional in this business because, if you get stale, you're gone. You really can't, and you have to evolve. And it doesn't matter if you've been in this business for 15 seconds or 15 years, you still have to compete against people who are honestly want it just as bad, if not more than you do.
Yeah, and I'll feed off on that. It was kind of interesting to me. We've worked with the PGA Tour for a few years now, and we've gone to many, many tournaments. And our technology that we've been experimenting with, we usually are somewhere near the camera people, right? So we look at that, and then we actually show them what we're doing. They were like, "Oh my God, you're going to replace me, right?" We were like, "No, we'll never replace the storytelling of what you guys do, right?" It is just an added benefit for the younger audience. In fact, you talk about the friction of technology, and for us, the friction of technology is how do you take what you can see at home today and make it interactive. I can truly, instead of a lean back experience, the younger audience wants a lean in experience. They want the interactive pieces of it. They want to be, I would say, stayed busy over and over again instead of just sitting back and watching a game. So our technology does that, but what we're trying to do is make that friction go away for our partners, right? So you can actually lean in, you can be interactive, you can actually touch and feel the data visualization onto actually video that actually is on tabletop. And be able to do that in completely different ways that you don't even know you're watching a game, even though you're watching a game. You're actually interacting with the live game.
Yeah, or one last point. Even there's an example I'll use. We have a portfolio company that we recently invested in earlier this year called ProShop, which is a media holding company. It was a spin out from the PGA Tour. And even in non-technological ways, you're seeing a lot of these leagues and properties engage, right? The PGA Tour noticed that golf influencers were becoming such a huge proponent to this younger audience to grow the game. And so some of you may have seen, but when the Tour Championship was here at Eastlake, the Wednesday evening before the tournament started on Thursday, they had some of the top golf creators come out, play a 9-hole match against each other, generated 120,000 concurrent streams in real time, millions upon millions of views post event, just to kind of as the content is syndicated across not just NBC and Golf Channel and those properties, but each of these influencers own YouTube channels and social media streams and everything else, and like you're seeing innovation happen in ways where yes, some of those influencers have played college golf and professional golf and were really good, but some of them were a single-digit handicap, and it's cool to see them play a professional golf course, right? You're not used to seeing that sort of content, and so I think there's also non-technological ways of like telling that story, growing the audience, engaging the audience, that we're starting to see pop up and will continue to be relevant for obviously years to come.
Gordon, we talk about access. That's a hunger that is now being satiated and will never go away, right? So we've spoiled audiences with more access, more access, more access. That won't stop. It'll only get more. So it used to be, in all of our recent collective memories, getting to go to a game was about as much access as you could get, especially as a kid, right? You'd go to a game, the world exploded in front of you. How do you provide more and more access to people who are in a building watching a live sporting event?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty real with ourselves in that the viewing experience, if you really want to watch a football game, is probably better on TV than sitting up in the very top of the bowl here. But that's just the viewing aspect of it. I think fans come to games far more than just what they're seeing on the field. It's being with other fans. It's the environment. It's the energy. It's the production. And so we try leaning on all those things other than, to your point, just access. I can't get everybody a locker room visit. They're not going to get sideline passes. You can give them other things, other benefits. You can bring them into this, this home, as we call it here, the experience that they can have. You're not going to get that at home. And we realize it's not for everybody, but that's how we try kind of meeting that need for that access, and it's just the overall experience.
Do you have to worry about running sort of a razor-thin margin of like that you want to be great to partners too that are showing these games on television? Do you worry ever that we've made it so great for our partners that they won't come to the stadium? Or, is that the constant battle, or is that not even a thought process? I
mean, it's something we think about, but we are part of a league, and we get our revenue share from the league, and so the NFL does well, we do well, and so we understand that. I think it's a good symbiotic relationship. We have to be cognizant of that, and I think if our game's on Sunday Night Football, more people are interested in the Falcons and more likely to want to come to a game later in the season. So it goes both ways.
We definitely are constantly pushing ourselves in both the living room and in stadium experiences. It's a little bit like sports itself. When you are up against your biggest rival, you show up and you play your best game. So I think if we're trying to bring the best of the stadium experience and feeling that communal aspect and feeling that immersive, I'm right there, I'm getting to feel like I'm responding to interactivity and it's showing up on the screen in the stadium, or vice versa, we bring in the best of the living room and we bring that. I think Quintar is a fantastic example of that. If you're used to watching golf, you want to see the shot trails. You want to be able to see distance from the pin, all of these things. But if you're there at the tournament, it can be a hard situation to experience that same thing that gives you that nuance of, oh my goodness, this is an epic, 5-foot putt that he's got to do to get, multi-millions of dollars. And so I'll give 2 examples of companies that have helped us kind of keep that best of in both of those worlds. One of them is Aircast. Same thing to your example. They work with Sacramento Kings as an Oracle Park. So when you're in the stadium or you're in the court, your seat is where it's at. You can't necessarily control camera angles, replays, all of those things. But with Aircast, if you can be able to see the pageantry of what's happening in front of you, but also decide I want to do a replay, or I want to hear the commentation from the broadcast, I want to hear it in Spanish, to have all that capability off your mobile device, that gives you a little bit of a sense of being a producer in the stadium experience, which is really quite powerful, but doesn't detract from, it just helps you enhance the experience there. Similarly, mobile technology allows data and video to be synced in low latency. And they did a test at the Tour Championship to geofence it so that you could be on the on the grounds, but be able to see the 18th hole live streamed of your favorite golf player. And that was a closed test. Again, PGA Tour wants to test these things out and make sure it is rock solid, that fans get the expectations that they get. But next step is waste management. And there's 50,000 fans, and they're going to get a go at Moby Technology to see the foursome or the player they want to watch.
And that one's crazy. The waste management.
It's yeah.
That one's crazy. No,
but this is not a new conversation. 60 years ago, the NFL owner sat around a table with Pete Rozelle explaining why TV would not destroy their game. And the owners were petrified of television. And Pete Rozelle said it, and I'm going to tell a story. I'm a storyteller. He said, for the NFL to work, it has to work on television. Now, in the 1960s, that phrase, for the NFL to work, for it to be successful, the NFL was a fourth-rate sport in 1960. Let's be clear. Boxing, horse racing, baseball, college football, college basketball, all were far beyond the NFL. The NFL became successful, in part because of wonderful, good old NFL films. We created a mythology. And that mythology created demand. It's why we're sitting in a palace here like this, where 70,000 fans can come watch a game, and millions more are going to watch at home, and they all can't get enough. So I think how you bring the game to the consumers, how you create the mythology, whether it's a player's mythology, whether it's a golfer or a tennis player, social media does an extraordinary job right now of creating a mythology of an individual player. Could be a youth player, and you see them, youth influencers. I think leaning into it, going where the demand is going, can only help build. And I think the fear of anyone saying, well, it's going to cut into our gate is foolish. You have to double into it. You have to lean into where it's going.
Yeah, I think we talk about bringing the best of the home viewing to the stadium and bringing the best of the stadium to the home. That actually is the mantra of our company. Is how do we blend both of those together, no matter what fan you are, and how you want to watch it. So that's really our mantra.
We have another fun example of, again, it's how do you bring user-generated content into a live broadcast? Sky Sports has done a fantastic job of that with one of our portfolio companies, Display. So when you're watching a boxing match, you can have the viewer's verdict. You have your own opinion of who you think won that round, and that way your voice gets to be a part of it. Or having social walls of people as they're tweeting during some live breaking news, to be able to have that, to feel that you now have a voice in the overall story and how it's told out there is pretty powerful. And that is a true power in the hands of fans to show their favorite team or athlete how much they care.
Relative to determining what technologies we chase and don't chase, is scale a bit of a red herring? Is that a mistake? Is that, like, I know we all want scale. Hot take, scale could be an illusion, but we'll address that later. But I know we're all looking for, great grand numbers, but when evaluating technology that can bring a story to life or enhance a viewer experience, do we have to chase scale, or should we just chase experience first and hope that, the Rozelle story reminds me of that, right? Like, it's got to work on TV. We don't know that it will, but we at least got to try, right? Is chasing scale a bad thing to do when evaluating a new tech relative to sports?
I can answer that in two ways. One is there's obviously tens of millions, hundreds of millions of fans around the world. So technology, if it works in sports, it's got to be able to support, obviously, scale, right? It's got to be able to support millions upon millions of people. I think for us, as we're evaluating it from an investment perspective, we understand that if you look at the professional sports landscape of if you're going to sell technology into that system, right? There's a finite number of teams that are buyers, right, at the end of the day. But we understand that if it works there, that oftentimes those systems can be used in other areas, right? Whether it's media, entertainment, gaming, right? Whatever it might be, right? So I think for us, we look at sports as an entry point into something that can be way broader, because it is a very good view into what consumers want at the end of the day. And so I think it may start small and, in and around sport. And so to your term, scale, like, yes, we want to see something that has a founder or a company that has a vision to scale. But oftentimes, no, you got to start small to be able to get there.
So Adam, I'll build off that because we have a similar viewpoint. One, it is an investment, so you want to see it prove itself out on the grand stage of sports. But if it can go into other strategic verticals like hospitality or hospital healthcare. Those are really important strategic enterprise verticals for us on our Comcast business side of the house. So we're always looking at both of those as, you know, we are making an investment, but at the end of the day, if you're going to build a sustainable business, you've got to find product market fit that can continue to grow and continue to bring revenue in. That's how you build a sustainable business.
Look, I mean, I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, really look at what's happened over the last several years in the sports industry. I mean, we're talking about a $3 trillion industry. This is truly an asset class in its own right. So for us to really build businesses, we can build very, very large businesses across the sports industry. And that's something that my team and I at 76 Capital have been talking about for many, many years now, that this is truly an asset class. This is truly an opportunity to build really special companies that are all across the sports industry that are using technology. So I think that's something that we have to think about, and we've seen it. I mean, we've just seen some, look at, I'll talk about sports betting for a second. I mean, we had one state in the United States in 2018 that had legalized sports betting. Sports betting was less than a $10 billion industry. Today, there will be over $150 billion bet in the 38 legal states in the United States this year. So to see this unbelievable up to the right that's happening right now and how fast it's growing, we've now seen something that's grown. We would love that in any industry, but it's happening here in sports, and there's so much more that's going to happen, especially because of all the things that we're all doing up here. And it's exciting. I mean, like, I'm so excited that, we're here, we're in Atlanta, we're at this event talking about sports as one of the important areas and major, major growth areas in not only just sports, but like in the country. It's one of the major, major industries. I mean, we know, look at CNBC, right? CNBC just last week put out their first sports newsletter. They announced CNBC Sport. They are focusing and covering this industry like they cover every other industry. So yes, we want our stuff to be bigger and better and all that kind of stuff, but you could be really, really big if you're successful in the sports industry.
And the main reason, and Wayne and I can talk about this ad nauseum, on why sports is now an asset class, because it's scarce IP with global fandom. That is a completely different dynamic than you will see in most other fields and industries, and you have a global fan base. So I would say even some of our portfolio companies that you wouldn't necessarily would think have something to do with sports have been our most successful. Let's Chat is a great example of that. They do live language translation. You've got global fans that speak 104 different languages, but still want to have that accessibility to that athlete or that team or that moment that inspired them to pick up a glove.
Betting brings up a good sort of hybrid topic, which is anytime we see an expansive technology, betting or otherwise, there comes with the sort of the back end, the ethical evaluation, right? Where do we all belong in this sort of like decision of whether or not a technology can be good or bad or healthy or not healthy for our company, our fans, our growth? How do you all go about sort of evaluating that ethical process? Is it a whole internal team? Is it incumbent upon you? Where do you sort of sit on the sort of ethical line relative to bringing new technology into these things? It got quiet.
Yeah, no, I mean, look for us, it's legal, right? We are in a legal industry. It's legal in 38 states to have sports betting. So it's like anything else. I mean, it's another way to engage fans. It's so amazing to see the interaction between people when they have something on the game and they have a little bit of money on the game. And in other cases, we were talking about this earlier, right? I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, we were saying like how we were talking about one of our companies called Lucra that works with Dave & Buster's, right? You're able to go to Dave & Buster's and challenge your friends whether they can in Pop-A-Shot or on skee-ball for a burger, a beer, or a few bucks. Like, these are the types of things that we're talking about enabling, having some fun around this. The incredible companies that have been built over the last several years in the sports betting industry, from FanDuel to DraftKings to seeing what now Fanatics is doing. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, like, think about what Fanatics is bringing e-commerce to the world of sports betting and gaming. That's so interesting, and it's going to be so interesting with your fan cash and how that all plays out. What BetMGM is doing with Marriott and Bonvoy points and how that's going to play together. I mean, like, these are things that we never really ever thought of before, how it's all gonna play out. But the coolest part of it all is these entrepreneurs are doing these things that are pushing the limits and doing things that are just incredible, that are helping all of us to enjoy sports even more. And to me, if we're having fun and it's a safe thing to do, then go nuts.
I agree. I'll take the other end of the spectrum, though, to some degree, where you're seeing an investment in responsible gaming, right? It's a very big topic. We've been a lead investor in Prize Picks here locally for a very long time, and Prize Picks was very early in integrating responsible gaming tactics, best practices, partnering with outside organizations. It is important that we evaluate that side because there are opportunities for foul play and. But I also see it from an investor lens. We see a number of companies who are trying to tackle that problem as well, right? So there are companies who are, integrating other tech to be able to help the end user with responsible gaming. You see, not to go too deep, but you see the UK, publish their white paper about, financial checks, so, for as it relates to gaming and betting and fantasy sports. So there are things that are happening to enable, that sort of experience. But, I would say the large majority of the consumers are, to what you're saying, it's $5 on a game that, like, you have no other interest in, and it's something to do on a Saturday afternoon, right? And it's entertainment. It's coming out of your entertainment budget more than it's coming out of anything else.
Right, and you talk about Prize Picks. I mean, Prize Picks and FanDuel and DraftKings and all the sports books are really big clients of one of our companies called IC360. And IC360 is the integrity, compliance, education, regulatory technology company across the sports betting industry. We want to make sure that everything is on the up and up, so you can have fun and it really is safe. So, I think, like, being able to introduce products like Pro-A-Bet, where players are not able to bet on their games, even if they want to try to do it, that they're automatically stopped because the technology stops it, right? So, like, to be able to introduce those kinds of products to make sure that everything is truly at the highest level of integrity, that all the sports books are compliant, they're doing the right thing, and then, of course, we got to make sure that we educate the players, the coaches, the front office staff, all across this to make sure that everyone's doing the right thing, and especially colleges, college conferences, college players today. There's so much that we need to do as part of, from an education perspective, that we believe, and that's why we invest a lot of money in the whole regulatory tech side of the sports betting industry.
All right, with a few minutes left, embracing the theme of what's next, we're going to go down the line. What's next? What's the great new thing you're seeing? What's the thing you're most excited about? What's the technology in sports next big thing? What do you like? What do you see out there?
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about AI earlier. I would say there's something that's a concern of mine, which I think will generate the next big thing, which are deep fakes, right? And you're going to see more and more of that, and especially as it relates to an athlete, a celebrity, where, again, things can be misconstrued. These videos are getting really, really, really powerful and really good. And I think there's opportunities around identifying that, or, again, talking about leaning into leveraging these technologies and athletes and teams and properties, leveraging the technologies to almost own an AI avatar, as an example, right? I think in my head, I see that as a really big opportunity in the future, just because this isn't going away, right? And it's however we can monitor it and again, embrace it, the better.
I don't have an answer. I have no stinking idea.
None of us do. None of us do.
But that's the fun part. If you had told me that a recently retired center would get $100 million media deal, I would have told you were insane. This has happened. Players have taken telling their own stories through their own channels to the moon. It's fabulous. And that's what gets me excited to wake up every day, is what's going to happen next. So the answer is I have no clue, and I can't wait till we get there.
Todd, I love that. I have no clue either. This is fantastic. No, I guess what I will say is, we talked about this a little bit earlier, that fans are fluid. Your favorite player gets traded. You sometimes go with that player. It used to be that you were so anchored in your community, your home team, but this is now global fandom. So instead of having a one-to-many relationship, we need to have a one-to-one relationship, and I think that's the only way that we can do that is through the efficiency gains that we can get through technology for it to be super hyper-personalized. It's kind of what you were saying, buddy, of like there's a generation that wants to lean back, generation that wants to lean forward, and they just want to watch the highlight reels. We've got to be able to figure out who they are, what they want, what they desire, look at their behavior, and find ways to bring them closer to the moments that matter in a way that's going to resonate for them. And that's going to solve all the problems of tune in and reducing churn on streaming and all of these other things, because it's going to be so wonderful that you just can't get enough of it.
Yeah, I'm going to be selfish and say me. No, but no. I think it's interactive live games. I really do believe that's the case. In fact, we during the tour championship that happened here in Atlanta last month now, but we actually launched for the PGA Tour in Vision Pro the ability to have experience parties within Vision Pro. And that meant you can actually bring up the live tournament. You can actually see the models in front of you. You can see live shot trails, and you can have all your buddies around you around the world experiencing that with you to give crap, to do prop betting, not online yet, but prop betting, but actually being able to experience that no matter where they were in the world. And so we launched that at the Tour Championship. But imagine not having a 3D model in front of you, but actually having the video in front of you. Literally on your tabletop, where you actually have augmented AR flying around, all the data visualization, all those pieces, and you have your buddies around you virtually in the piece, watching a virtual screen that's synchronized everywhere and synchronized to what's going on the tabletop video. So you have a 2D video of that, and you can actually synchronize it to your physical 75-inch TV. Right? That gives the fan all the flexibility that they want. They can watch it how they want it, they can experience it how they want it, they can interact with their buddies.
Couldn't have said any better. I mean, look, to me, we're sitting in state-of-the-art building, and this is an awesome experience. We all walk around everywhere with our digital devices, so it's the convergence. It's truly the convergence of the physical and digital worlds is what's next. It's going to get better, and we're going to have even better experiences, and we'll just have more fun. We'll just enjoy our times together with our loved ones, with our friends, with other fans, and that's what this is all about. And I think that's the part that excites me so much, is this when these things come together. I mean, the amazing media companies that are building these just awesome new experiences for us, the new technology companies that are working with the media companies, working with the leagues, this whole convergence, and the leagues themselves and their willingness to partner and be part of all this, to me, that's what's so exciting about the future.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with what Jenna and Wayne were saying there. I think for us, it's developing those one-to-one, authentic, personalized experiences, and then how you do that of combining all these technologies you're hearing about today, combining the sports betting, the AR, all the AI tools that are out there, bringing those together to really orchestrate custom, authentic, natural experiences. I think that's where it's going, at least for us in this building and across our teams. There's a ways to go. I think we're spending a lot of time ourselves working on that. I know others are as well. I think that's where it's probably going in the next 5 years.
Well, thanks to everybody. Thanks to Sarah, and thanks to this awesome panel. Appreciate it, guys.